the ED was pushed to now. So even as we await details of what she's going to be questioned over, you've got Congress workers gathering in large numbers. Last time around, when Rahul Gandhi appeared before the ED, I'm sure you remember those scenes of, scores of Congress workers staging a dharna, marching from the AICC headquarters to the ED office. It's a repeat of that. But this time around, they haven't sought permission from the Delhi police, which is why cops have maintained that no permission, no nod has been granted at this point for this particular dharna that the Congress is planning to stage. And it's also a two-pronged attack. What you're seeing on the streets of Delhi, where things are heating up because Congress workers are gathering within the AICC headquarters. That's allowed. The moment they step out and march towards the ED office, they're going to be detained by the handful. And Sonia Gandhi, we're being told, will also be marching behind her. You're going to be seeing scores of these leaders walking with her all the way up to the ED office. There's unprecedented security. Of course, there's huge inconveniences for Delhiites as well, because most of these key roads in the national capital are either completely closed off or heavily barricaded. Rush hour this morning has been an absolute mess and chaos because of this particular agitation and because of the security that the Delhi police has put up. Now, I mentioned that it's a two-pronged attack by the Congress. So one is on the streets of Delhi, as I've told you. The other is in Parliament. The monsoon session is underway. The last few days, no business has happened whatsoever because it's been endless disruptions, protests over GST, over inflation. Expect no less today, because today what's becoming the focus point is this particular summon of Sonia Gandhi. The opposition, and it's not just the Congress, several other opposition parties are also rallying because Sonia Gandhi is a much bigger political figure, a much bigger rallying point than Rahul. So interestingly, you've got several political parties joining hands. Adjournment motions have already been put across in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, talking about the vindictive steps of the Enforcement Directorate in targeting certain political leaders. So that's the message that the Congress is putting forth in Parliament. But what it is also going to mean is endless disruptions in both houses today as well on this issue, because opposition parties, several of them have said that we're joining ranks with the Congress to demand answers from the government. The BJP so far has dismissed this. They're saying this is not a satyagraha. We're talking about two leaders who are accused in a serious case like the National Herald case, who are accused in a scam which the High Court and Supreme Court didn't give them any relief over, that they didn't get any clean sheet from the courts. So this investigation is valid. They are asking, why is the Congress then sticking their necks out and backing Sonia Gandhi and backed Rahul Gandhi earlier? So this is how things are currently playing out really within the Congress. Expect a lot of dramatic scenes in the national capital, because this dharna that the Congress is planning to stage in moments from now, the protests have already begun. But the moment they start that march, the Delhi police will crack down, because they're saying very clearly that there's no permission that's been given for this kind of an agitation. The Congress also maintains that they will ensure their voice is heard in Parliament also on this particular issue, largely because they're saying that, look, the government is not giving us answers on any of the issues we're raising, whether it's the Agnipath scheme, whether it's GST, whether it's inflation. And so we will continue our protest, where we've been seeing scenes of opposition MPs, what we're so used to essentially, entering the well of the house and staging their agitations. So it will be interesting to see what is the take home from all that plays out today on the streets of the national capital, and also the questioning of Sonia Gandhi. Let me tell you about the other big story of the day. Today, we'll know who's the next president of India, who's the 15th president of India. The counting, if I'm not wrong, it's 11:30 now. The counting has already begun. It's underway. By about 4 o'clock, we're expecting there will be clarity and the sense that there will be an official, clear decision and mandate on who the next president is. Of course, there's a lot of talk that it is Draupadi Murmu. Not wrong, because of the fact that if you look at how many political parties actually spoke in her favor, largely in her, she has the clear edge in this fight. So it looks like Draupadi Murmu will be the 15th president of India, historic in many senses. She's going to be the first tribal woman president of the country, and that speaks volumes really about inclusivity and what India stands for. So Draupadi Murmu in all likelihood will be named the next president of India. But there are a couple of things that will be very interesting to see. One is that while yes, things are comfortably in her favor over what kind of cross voting will actually happen, because the BJP actually was scared about cross voting in Bengal. For several opposition parties too, they were worried that Draupadi Murmu may get more votes than Yashwant Sinha, that despite their party taking a stand, their MPs, MLAs could choose Murmu. So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers look like, because that will spark speculation on who cross-voted, who remain loyal to the party stand. Besides that, also we're hearing the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be visiting Draupadi Murmu today, this afternoon, as soon as things become very clear as to which side they are headed. And we're hearing about 2:33 or so, Prime Minister Modi, once there's a very clear mandate, will go ahead and meet with Draupadi Murmu. There's going to be this big celebration within the BJP headquarters, with JP Nadda also leading a victory march once it's official this evening that Draupadi Murmu is the next president of India. Stay with us on India Today, because we'll get you those updates also on the voting, everything that you need to know about Draupadi Murmu and what this means politically, because there are big repercussions, takeaways from how the voting pattern and what the voting pattern looks like. Finally, I want to wrap up with one big international story, the race to 10 Downing Street. What's happening in the United Kingdom? There's endless buzz, of course, about who's the next UK Prime Minister. And right now, it's coming down to two names. Indian origin MP Rishi Sunak, who we've all spoken about so much in the last few weeks, and Liz Truss. Here's where it gets challenging for Sunak. So far, it's been, easy, smooth sailing for him. He's got a lot of support in his favor. You look at the votes, how it really went down. At this point, he in fact got a lot of support with 137 votes in the final round of voting. It's his Conservative Party colleagues who've largely voted in favor of him, rather overwhelmingly at that. So he's comfortably been in the lead so far. But now that it's come down to a two-person contest between Liz Truss as well as Rishi Sunak, now it's going to be a bit challenging for Sunak, because a lot of the surveys seem to suggest that Liz Truss could be in the lead, that she could actually cause a big upset and become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly plays out. Remember that September 5th is when the final result will come. So for the next few weeks, you must be wondering what's going to happen. It's a very elaborate process of what happens in the United Kingdom. So what you'll see is essentially a lot of debates, a lot of conversations between the two leaders, what they really provide, what they offer to the people of the United Kingdom. So it'll be interesting to see what really happens on that particular front, and who is the successor of Boris Johnson, who will be the next Prime Minister of UK. He is, of course, the acting Prime Minister currently as well. So those are all the top stories that you need to know, all the stories that develop later in the day, of course, and which we'll keep a very close track here